Hello everyone, my name's Elliot and I'm a developer with ZeroThorn Studios, and I just wanted to create a tutorial to show beginners a good place to start and have some fun. Right click to move your camera around, W, A, S, and D to move around, and your mouse wheel scroll it up to move really fast and scroll it down to move really slow. And that's the majority of the way I navigate through the engine. And what we're navigating here is the main viewport, and that is your level, basically. This is a pretty plain level, but that's where you'll do a lot of your developing. First thing I like to do is this so that I can see the game's folder structure. So everything in your game is going to be right here in your content browser. And let's see, if you want to just look for static meshes, you can do this. This is all the static meshes in your game. And being able to search through the engine like that is really nice. So there's a couple different ways you can do the same thing. The world outliner gives you everything that's in your level, so you can click on different things here to get control of them. If we do this, we'll find the player start. Okay. So if we hit play, you are going to take over the third person character. And if we go to the third person character and go to details, scroll all the way down to pawn, I've set it to auto possess. By default it's set to disabled, and when you hit play you're going to take over the player start. But if you set it at 0, that's going to give you control over that particular blueprint, and that's one way to pick which asset you want to play test or play as. So let's go ahead and delete that and just show you a couple things here with the player start. Control W duplicates things. Control Z goes back. But let's go ahead and duplicate 3 of these. And now when you hit play, it's going to pick one each time. See, that's the middle. That's the right. I think that's the left one. So just give you an idea of how the player starts work. When you click on an object in the game world, you're going to get the details of that object. So if we do this cube, for example, let's bring it up. If we want, we can turn it into a physics object by just checking simulate physics. And when you hit play, it should just kind of do its thing. Now if you want, you can set the mass to a different number. So we'll make this 1, and it should be much lighter to where we can knock it around, because it's, we've messed with how heavy it is. And then if you set it back to 100, I think, if you uncheck this, yeah, so that's what its default is. And now when you run around, it's much harder to move. And there's just so many things that are like that, where you can mess with different aspects of it with the details panel. Okay, another thing that's really useful, when you click on an object, you have these 3 to move it, rotate it, and scale it. But you also have shortcuts W, E, and R. That's going to speed things up for you as you get used to doing it. Hit N to make any object hit the floor. I'm just trying to go over some hotkeys here to help you, move along more quickly. And obviously you can delete with delete. So let's go up here to our modes and have a look at those things. These are level assets for the most part. I mean, the landscape editor allows you to create a landscape, which then you can edit terrain and paint terrain, build mountains, dig ditches, that kind of thing. We'll go into here and I'll just show you. You can grab a light and bring it into your level. And then you can click on the details of that light and once again modify different aspects. So if we want it to be brighter, we can just double it. But if we want it to affect a longer distance, you can double this number as well. And then it will reach further. Another thing is sometimes in your level design, you're going to have spots where you can't see what you're working on. So you can come up here to where it says lit and make that unlit, and now you have a full view no matter where you are or what your lighting situation is. Back to our modes. The foliage editor is really interesting. You can go to your content browser. We'll do a static mesh. We'll do this cube and we'll drop it in there. And now what's interesting about this is that no matter how many static meshes that you paint, it's only going to call for it once. So I'm going to make the density a lot lower so we don't have a bunch paint at once. But so now it's going to compile shaders. But you can click on this and then move things around and then rotate them, that kind of thing. And what's cool is no matter how many you paint, it only gets called once, so that helps with performance and overhead and that kind of thing. Okay. And hitting shift is going to delete just that one. So if I had a list of 10 different, for example, you could uncheck and only delete the ones that you want. Only the ones that are checked would be the ones that were deleted. This is geometry. I don't really use that too often, and I don't use the paint that often. Modes, landscape, and foliage, definitely use those a lot. Don't do a lot of cinematics. Use a lot of these, like nav mesh volume, blocking volume as invisible walls. Light mass is important for building your light in your level. And then this is of course everything. So, all right, let's just let's jump right into something. All right, so when we hit play, we're the third-person character. Now, what's interesting about this is a couple different ways you can find the third-person character. You can click your content and then just type in, and then find him, drag him in there. Another way is when they're already in the level, you can just right-click and then find in content browser, and it's going to bring you right back to it again. Let's go ahead and go in there. So you get the viewport that's going to show you what the character consists of. The capsule is going to give you the half height when you crouch. It's going to set up your collision for what you run into and that kind of thing. And you use the capsule instead of the mesh so that you get a finer control of what hits the environment. These are all your events, like when the capsule hits or when it overlaps something. And the components are really useful because it just goes over the list of everything that's set into the blueprint, basically. Character movement, useful for controlling how high you jump, walking, that kind of thing. I'll tell you what, the first thing I'm going to do is make it so that the target arm length on the camera boom is longer. So now, when you compile and play, now we're further away, get a little different view of the action. Let's go to the mesh component, and you can click in this window, or you can actually click on the individual parts in the viewport. Construction script is very interesting. Basically anything that runs in here is run before the game is even started, and the event graph with the third-person character has a bunch of stuff already set up for controls and that kind of thing.